Toxic workplaces. If you've been around long enough, you've probably worked at one. If you're new to this whole career thing, you may be worried you might end up, or already are, at a toxic company. But how do you know? What are the signs?
Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just forgot. But it's not shipping out till tomorrow, so there's no problem.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great. And I'll go ahead and make sure you get another copy of that memo. Okay?
This is important because a toxic workplace can break you. Not just while you're there, it leads to scars for years after. So what should you be looking for? I'm Mike. I've got a background from pharma, tech, and consulting. I've held C-suite roles in international companies, and I have degrees in business, human resources, and psychology. On this channel, I pick apart and analyze why companies do the things that they do, and I provide advice on how to navigate the corporate world. Today, it's about toxic workplaces. Let's get stuck in. If you're a medical professional, you'll have heard of the DSM manual. It's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders. It's basically the tool that you use to diagnose different mental illnesses. There's one thing that you need to know about that tool and how it relates to toxic workplaces. And it's that usually when people read those lists of symptoms, they see one or two symptoms and boom, they conclude that they have the illness. But one symptom is rarely enough. Generally speaking, the more symptoms you have, the more likely it is that the illness affects you. You can't just cherry pick and conclude that you have A or B illness. And the same applies to toxic workplaces.
You're fired. Right, you're unfired. I need you. Come here. What do you know about high society? Don't answer that. My society photographer got hit in the head by a polo ball. You're all I got. Big party for an American hero. My son, the astronaut.
Listen to the CEO, especially in companies where the owner and the CEO are one and the same. An owner, CEO, has a huge impact on the culture of the company. Elon Musk once said he only wanted people who were willing to work extremely hardcore at Twitter. And that's a sign that he expects it from everybody. An Indian businessman once stated that 90 hours is what he saw as an ideal work week. That was also a sign. The CEO of Brewdog said, "I think the whole concept of work-life balance was invented by people who hate the work that they do." There's a message in there. Public statements are clear signs of what the CEO prioritizes, and that will directly affect the way the company works.
It's like really, you're going to work from home and you're going to make everyone else who made your car come work in the factory. You're going to make the people who make your food that gets delivered that they can't work from home.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's toxic, like I said, but it is a sign that you should be aware of. Hopefully you're not seeing this channel as a toxic environment. If you're not, then perhaps you're also learning something from the channel. If you do, please consider subscribing. It's hugely appreciated. Thanks a ton.
Ownership. Leaders are owners. They think long-term and don't sacrifice long-term value for short-term results. They act on behalf of the entire company beyond just their own team. They never say, "That's not my job."
Most companies have values or some words that ideally say something about their culture. Do you remember the time when Google used to have a value called "do no evil"? And do you remember when they deleted it? I do. Most values are a little bit generic and pointless. There's integrity and openness and client centricity, all that kind of stuff. But there are three that I think are potential warning signs of a problematic workplace culture. Number one is we're a family. This is a problem because it often gets used in environments where businesses are highly relational and stakeholder dependent. Knowing the right people becomes more important, and being friends with the right people can make or break your career. Number two is owner's mentality. And owner's mentality sometimes just means we think like it's our own money. We don't spend money on silly things, but sometimes it means we work like we're about to lose our house. So we micromanage, we control. And working 9 to 5 is something we see as lazy. Owners usually worked a lot to get where they got. That made them rich. Expecting it of other people that are only getting paid minimum wage might not exactly have the same positive trade-off. Meritocracy is the third one. Getting ahead because of merit is a good thing. The best workers should be rewarded the most. But meritocracy is sometimes a dog whistle for non-inclusive workplaces. There's just one kind of individual that will always do well, and potentially you're not that kind of person. And if you're not getting ahead. There's always going to be, or often going to be, an A or a B team. And the B team is looked down on. Other values that I would also be mindful of: in it to win it, competition culture, grind set. Anything that indicates pushing boundaries in a potentially unhealthy way is something to be mindful of.
35 seconds.
You have like an atomic clock?
Oh, he's got his thing. Everybody here, we're all about to get fired from Twitter. I've been here 9 years and 9 months now.
High turnover. Employees constantly leave and new hires don't stick around. Pay attention to the turnover. Amazon warehouses have over 100% turnover. Some of them have over 150% turnover. It's hard work. Amazon Web Services has significantly higher turnover than Microsoft. Now, is that bad in itself? No. Amazon is very clear that they have a high performance culture and very few people last for a lot of years there. Some people love it, but others find it massively toxic. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to get a handle on the turnover of a given company, but review sites, former employees, industry chatter is typically pretty reliable. People in the industry know where the good and bad companies are.
Burnout in big law is a huge problem.
And some industries are just more potentially toxic than others. Partner-driven firms, consultancies, auditors, legal firms, they have, due to their ownership structure of many equity holders, a tendency to have more toxic traits. Likewise, creative industries, advertising, film, television, game development also tend to have more cases of toxic workplace culture. It's a mix of a lot of people trying to get into a very attractive field, with the industry being in a position to pick and choose that usually drives these bad behaviors.
You do realize this is a very competitive position.
Yeah, sure. I understand that. What I don't understand is how you feel so comfortable asking someone to work without pay.
It's not a foolproof sign, but industries that are characterized by low salaries and a lot of younger employees and a heavy reliance on voluntarism, so interns and runners and unpaid overtime, are potential risk factors as well. So far, the signs we've talked about are the ones that you can identify from the outside. From here, it's more about the inside. So you might only know it once you're in through the door.
35 seconds.
You have like an atomic clock?
Oh, he's got his thing. Everybody here, we're all about to get fired from Twitter. I've been here 9 years and 9 months now.
Chaos. I put my money on the fact that Twitter in the months after Elon took over were potentially toxic for a lot of people. I would put my money on Intel, who are currently planning to fire over 20,000 people, as potentially more toxic than usual. Change leads to stress, cost-cutting leads to unproductive behaviors, internal org changes do the same. Revolving doors at management and senior management level all point to problems in the business, and these problems do impact the experience of working there. You can get an idea of this sometimes in publicly traded companies, but not always. Any company in disarray or in a downward spiral is at risk of developing toxic traits.
And I'm a great believer that it's all about expectation management. You know, like I get asked about Amazon a lot. Like, do I disagree with how Amazon is run? And my answer is always the same, which is they never lied. They didn't tell you it's a magical place to work where it's all kumbaya and we all we all hang out with unicorns every day. It's really amazing. They're very open about it. That it's very, very aggressive and very rough and very competitive. And even the people who love it only last 2 years because they burn out.
If you want to work at McKinsey, you're not going to be working 40 hours a week, and you're probably cool with that. Amazon, McKinsey, some high-end law firms, they work you hard, and hopefully you make more money and get a better resume out of it. But companies that work you hard generally have a hard time respecting boundaries culturally. Managers that work you hard also have that problem. And it can become toxic in two different situations. It becomes toxic when it turns out that despite you knowingly buying into a high workload, you can't keep up anymore. And it happens. And when it does, these companies and managers have a tough time dealing with individuals that need to renegotiate new limits. Second, when the reality is different than the promised expectations. You thought 40 hours was the expectation, but you just keep getting extra work and your boundaries are consistently pushed. Micromanagers also exist. Managers that feel the need to inspect and review and control everything for whatever reason are just potentially more toxic. Some people like a detailed boss, but generally most people thrive more in an environment where empowerment and autonomy is in place.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm fucking with you? I am not fucking with you. I'm here from downtown. I'm here from Mitch and Murray. And I'm here on a mission of mercy.
Reprisal. A company where people openly scream and shout at each other. It's not a good sign. A company where language is combative and oppositional, where terms like cover your ass get thrown around. Anywhere where the organization or specific managers are busy placing blame rather than working to fix a problem is a giant red flag. All companies have periods where some other team is the problem, but there's a fine line between that and just in general using others as targets and scapegoats. Favoritism isn't as easy to spot as you would think. Especially in big firms, careers are also built on relationships. Being able to work with others is a key to making a big firm function. But there's a difference between having a good relationship and knowing that the only way to get promoted is by sucking up to specific power individuals. This is easier to spot in organizations that don't have a lot of formal processes. Once those HR type processes get put in place, some of that favoritism does tend to come a little bit more under control. It's when everything is always handled informally that has a potential issue. Lack of promotion. Again, it's not a sign in itself. Just because you or your best friend wasn't promoted doesn't mean somebody else wasn't. More toxic companies do tend to hold people back in general. They are likely not even going to have a formal promotion process. Big organizations with no processes. When you're a little startup, having an annual budgeting process or an annual training and development process and a strategy process is not always going to be the case. It's the nature of being a small company. But at Walmart, there are processes that add some bureaucracy for sure, but they also make life a lot easier in terms of clarity and consistency. When a company gets big, and they still do everything informally, without clear structures of some sort, without clear processes and policies, well, that favors informal power structures and informal information flows and informal decision making. And that leads to those risky behaviors of favoritism, nepotism, overt office politics, exclusion, and bullying.
Burnout. Not just a figure of speech anymore. It's actually been declared a legitimate medical diagnosis by the World Health Organization.
It is officially defined as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed.
Look at the people around you. If you're burned out, that's one thing. If everybody seems burned out and half the team is out on unplanned absence, then you've got something else going on. The small things to notice are how often people chat. Do people have time to talk at the water cooler or the coffee machine? Do people sit down for lunch? And the bigger things, I don't have time to look at that. It's not my desk. Lack of cooperation on seemingly small things is a big sign. Gatekeeping and defending against extra work, people avoiding open spaces, headphones everywhere all the time. And finally, of course, tears, anger, frayed nerves, and absence. Teasing, bullying, overt harassment. These are obvious signs of something problematic. It's one thing that there can sometimes be that one person that everyone knows is a problem and management for some reason keeps the person around. But it's another when large groups actively exclude, deride, and bully others. It's the scale and magnitude of it that differentiates one toxic colleague from a toxic environment altogether. If the strategy is changing seemingly every 7 seconds, something's wrong. If people make fun of the strategy and just kind of do whatever they think is best, that's a warning sign for sure. Some companies have no clear strategy. Doesn't make them toxic. One manager might be a micromanager. It doesn't make the company itself toxic. McKinsey has high turnover. McKinsey has an extreme approach to work-life balance. The industry itself is one where toxicity is not uncommon. And yes, people do burn out, but very few people describe McKinsey as toxic. On the contrary, most people speak highly of having worked there. Other companies with the exact same traits, not so much. Those are the companies you need to do your best to spot. And the final sign of toxicity is systematic turnover. The systematic absences. Those are the things that show up when it's getting bad. But learning to spot those signs, counting their number and assessing their strength, that's what you need to do. And if you don't, you're putting yourself at risk. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment if you've had experiences with toxic workplaces and also advice for others. Subscribe if you enjoyed the channel, and see you soon.